when you are raising a child and you are seeing your own emotions and experiences that you yourself had as a child, you get an opportunity to re-examine those scenarios, situations, emotions, confrontations, whatever they may be, and you get a chance not just to forgive, not necessarily the people in it, but the circumstances within it, but allowing yourself the chance to heal from it.
Hi, and welcome back to the Assyrian podcast, a podcast about Assyrians everywhere. I'm Marina, and today I want to talk to you about parenting. I myself am a mother to a 5-year-old and an 8-month-old, and let me tell you, it's not always a walk in the park. Though often it is literally a short walk in the park before the baby routine requires us to run back home. I've done the baby swim class, the mommy and me music class, the mom groups. I follow some mom accounts and have spent hours texting with friends, or mom friends as my friends are now called, about where to find the right sneakers, which art class to sign up for, and how we just need to get together for a coffee. But did you notice that? Mom friends, mom groups, mommy and me music classes. Mom, mama, yemma. It is an indisputable fact that most parenting of children is done by women. This is both historical and current, especially in a culture like ours. Mothers are typically expected to be the one who drop their workday to pick up a kid from school that has a fever, or organize a play date. So much so that men seen at the park with their children are often said to be babysitting their own children. Women are the ones with the maternal instinct after all. Or are they? We know that a woman's brain changes as she becomes a mother, but what about a man's? Recent studies found that primary caregiving fathers develop the same neural networks as primary caregiving mothers. That doesn't seem too shocking. A father's brain is just as malleable as a mother's. And you know what lights up those neural networks? It's time spent parenting, caregiving, changing diapers, handling naps, encouraging baby and tummy time. But that's difficult to do when society expects you to just stay back and let mom handle most things. Though something does seem to be shifting. Many countries now offer a combined parental leave, allowing parents the chance to split up leave so they can both get a chance to stay home with the baby. And they're encouraging men to take their share. Recent data also shows that dads are taking on a larger share of daily parenting duties in comparison to older generations. In fact, the stay-at-home dad, once a figment of the imagination, is growing in number. And today, in celebration of Father's Day, we're speaking with Emil Brikha, a stay-at-home dad. Emil spent years DJing, producing music, writing and performing spoken word. But when life led him to the path of fatherhood, he jumped in headfirst, taking on the role of primary caregiver, while his wife continued building her career. He chronicled a lot of his early fathering journey in a former blog and YouTube presence called Fatherologist. Emil and his wife Anna are parents to 9-year-old Ian, 5-year-old Allegra, and the sweetest dog named Nochi. I had the pleasure of meeting them all in their home in Malaga, Spain, and it's an understatement to say that they welcomed me and my 5-year-old with open arms. In our conversation, you may hear our children playing in the other room, and you will certainly hear a couple of S-bombs. After the interview, you can hear Emil's song, called Stay-at-Home Dad, that he wrote when his firstborn was a toddler. Parents have different philosophies, and what works for one family may not work for another. But I hope you'll enjoy a father's take 9 years into being a stay-at-home dad. So with that, here are two parents doing what they do best, talking and sometimes disagreeing about parenting. Hi, Emil.
Hi.
Welcome to the Assyrian podcast.
Thank you.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you made the time for me. And just so our listeners know, I want to paint the picture a little bit. Mm-hmm. I came down today from Madrid to Malaga, where you live in Spain, with my 5-year-old daughter. Because you have a 5-year-old daughter, and I think it's been lovely so far to have them playing together. So thank you for welcoming me into your home, welcoming my daughter into your home. Your family's been really wonderful.
Thank you. Oh, you're more than welcome.
It's a good adventure for us. So to get started, if you can tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you grew up.
I was born in Iran from Assyrian parents by Iraq and Iran. We moved to Sweden when I was a little baby after the Islamic Revolution in Iran, and Then I grew up in a quiet little town called Jönköping and spent most of my life in Sweden. Left Sweden when I was 30, moved to Malta, met my wife there, popped out a few kids. Now we live in south of Spain. Here we are today.
And so your wife is Spanish.
Correct.
So being here in Malaga affords you family time with her family, I imagine?
Yeah.
That's a great gift.
It is. It can be.
It can be. There's a lot there. And were you connected to other Assyrians where you grew up in Sweden?
I remember when I was really small, we would attend church every once in a while, and we'd go to the New Year's parties and these things, but that fizzed out quite early on, and then I didn't really have any contact with anything Assyrian apart from my family until I was in my mid-20s, and I was interviewed by an Assyrian journalist for Swedish radio, who was kind enough to deep dive into the whole history of the Assyrian nation and taught me about Syriacs, Chaldeans. I had no idea. I had a Syriac in my class growing up. Masen Murad. Shout out. And that was weird. I thought he was Arab. I didn't know. I didn't even understand like the difference. But they spoke Arabic most of the time. But I had no idea about the history of Assyrians or the fact that Chaldeans and Syriacs were a part of the Assyrian nation. So there was a lot of stuff to dive into politically, culturally, historically. And it was quite interesting.
It is fascinating, and it all just depends on your family and the community that you're involved in, how much we know or don't know. But it's...
Right.
I think it's a great gift
to learn. But you grew up in the
States.
States.
I grew up in the States.
So that, I mean, I think your Assyrian universe was probably a lot bigger than mine in Jönköping.
You could argue that, but actually it was pretty small.
Yeah?
My world.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
There is a large world, but mine was pretty small. But nonetheless, it's always fascinating to learn more about ourselves, because that's really what we're learning about, isn't it? When you learn about Chaldeans and Syriacs, you're learning more about you.
Exactly.
Okay, taking it from there. So what we're talking about, really in celebration of Father's Day that just passed in the U.S. and Canada, is fatherhood for you.
Right.
So we're using you as our resident dad. So
I like that. Can I have a T-shirt with that?
Yeah, right. Resident dad, Emil, to talk about your experience, because your experience is a bit different than your average father's.
It is, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, and particularly being Middle Eastern and coming from that culture, it is quite different, yeah.
You are a stay-at-home dad.
I am.
Yeah.
You say it like a bold statement.
But you are a stay-at-home dad, and it's fascinating. It's fantastic. There's no reason to kind of scream it from the rooftops, but at the same time, it's not as common, so it is worth exploring.
I think it does not deserve, but it is necessary to scream it out, not to celebrate me, but to bring attention to it for other men, to normalize it.
Completely agree. Why did you become a stay-at-home dad?
Just choosing between me and my wife, whom you've met now, and you probably see more why. I'm the nurturing one. That's just my nature. All these things that would be stereotypically associated with parenting, it falls on. No, those are attributes that match my personality quite well. Whereas she is the more, I would say, traditional. She would have the more traditional male perspective, being practical and tending to all the practical things of schedules and bills to be paid and school stuff. So with that in mind, it just felt like a natural choice for me to take on the bigger part of it, I guess.
Yeah, to be the primary caretaker. I think.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the term that's usually used.
Yeah, it sounds a bit belittling for her, but no, I'm the primary. No, but it's true. The very simple truth is that it just matches my personality better. And so if it does, roll with it. It's not a gender thing. If we're talking about personalities, then it works better, more effortlessly for me. So that's why.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense to me. And you kind of think that, we should do things based on our capabilities, right? So it makes sense for you guys. And it sounds like you guys have figured it out as a couple. And you're giving your kids the best versions of yourselves.
Right.
I think that makes sense. It's just that, as you know, societally and of course culturally for us, it's typically the woman that is expected to be the nurturing one. And I think that does a major disservice to mothers and fathers, because that puts women in a place where they think that this just should be pure instinct and they feel like failures when it's not. And it puts men in a position
Right.
where, no, you're not capable. And they feel like failures when they want to, but they can't, they shouldn't.
See, that's interesting. I never considered it from that perspective because I hear a lot of these stories about the challenges of parenting, and it's so overwhelming and this. And meanwhile, I'm like, no, not really. I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
And
just...
the interview ends here.
No, but that feeds more into the idea or the notion of how you should split parenting, that it should be based on your character, how you are as a person. Because if it just comes easy to me, then obviously it's going to be easy for me. But if you're just being automatically selected because of your gender, then you're doing a disservice to yourself and you're having to spend far too much energy forcing yourself. Then it makes sense when women are talking about it's so difficult to be a mom. Because from my perspective, it's not. Because it matches me and who I am.
You're very comfortable in your role as main dad.
Yeah.
Primary caretaker dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that makes sense for you. What was your career before stay-at-home dad?
Initially, I went to culinary school. So I was supposed to become a chef. Then I got into photography, and then I started... so this was like 96, and internet started coming along, and I got really into digital image manipulation and retouching and doing these things. So that went very well, hand in hand with my photography studies. But ultimately, it was music that was always my passion. I've been DJing since I was 12, 13 years old. And then it just branched off into music production. I started writing lyrics. And so going from a initial background of electronic music, house music, I got really into Wu-Tang Clan and this nitty-gritty, dirty hip-hop sound. It was very similar vibes to some of the electronic music that I was listening to, that I was playing as well.
And you did this on a large scale?
Eventually, yes. I mean, I started DJing professionally when I was 14, 15. So I was doing clubs before I was even allowed to get into the club.
That's a good way to get into a club.
Yeah. So starting with that, and then my bigger breakthroughs came together with the internet, of course, and the revolution of MP3s and democratization of the music industry.
We might have listeners who don't know what an MP3 is. I'm just messing with you.
Do you think so? No, really though. The younger ones, they're streaming, right? So they wouldn't even know what an MP3 is. Or if I say Winamp.
Oh, I can see the skin right now.
IRC?
Of course.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's where it started. So I started performing in hip-hop clubs, and then I got into spoken word poetry a bit randomly because some of my lyrics weren't necessarily meant for songs. They were too abstract to be on a beat. But I didn't know that there was such a thing as spoken word. So when I heard it the first time through artists like Taylor Mali and Sage Francis, so I brought that to the attention of these organizations in Sweden, of the poetry slam organizations. I started competing in poetry slams and had a lucrative career there as well. And eventually I got in touch with the Swedish National Theatre, and we did a festival tour together, which was really cool. And then a bunch of TV, radio stuff. Eventually, we get to 2006, and I wanted something different. So I decided to do a tour, coast to coast of the US. And I had performances in LA, Chicago, New York. That was really interesting. By the time I got back from the States, I got back to Sweden, and I thought I was going to be the next big shot, but nobody took it seriously. Nobody thought it was as big of a deal as I thought, that me as an independent artist to book a coast-to-coast tour with these performances and recording with these legends in the indie industry. It didn't lead to anything, so I gave up on Sweden, sold everything I had, and moved to Malta, where I reignited my DJing passion and took it to the highest that I'd ever been, because they have a lot of... The party scene is really huge there with big artists coming. The MTV even has like this huge thing with massive international artists every year that come and play. I was briefly a part of that scene, and in the middle of all that, I met my wife dancing salsa and fell in love. That was it. Yeah, there's a short stint after that as well. I branched off from photography, video production, to media production, advertisement, these type of things. And that became more dominant as my son was born, because I didn't have time to be out at 4 a.m. Playing the clubs.
But surely you were awake at 4 a.m. if you had a baby.
That wasn't an issue. That wasn't an issue at all. And that was also one of the things that made me the natural candidate for taking care of the baby, because I never liked sleeping.
You were a bit nocturnal anyway.
I don't like sleeping, just period. I don't like it.
I am shocked.
It's a bit weird. I'll say this though. Anyone who's had a baby, they will know that sleep deprivation that kicks in eventually. That'll do a number on you. So even I don't like sleeping.
You were affected by the sleep deprivation.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can see that in the videos, episodes on my YouTube channel. You could see just the red eyes and just the fatigue, empty look. It was... Looking back at it, it was quite hilarious.
Well, watching your videos, I recognize that look. So I felt a kinship there. Oh, yes, I know that.
Yeah.
Well, so, I mean, that's a lot, you know.
It's a lot. I didn't even touch on the real estate and the renovations and the architectural designs and all these things. It's a lot of stuff. I've been jumping a lot.
Those are skills and talents that you worked on over many years. How have any of those translated into your day-to-day as dad?
For one, I automatically become the fun dad, because there's so many things that I've done. There's so much for them to explore within me, whether we're talking about music or art, or if we're talking about architecture, 3D design, all these things. There's a lot to dig through, so it never gets boring. It's not like, so Dad, what did you do? Oh, I went to school, then I got a job, and then I had this, and then I had you, and that was it. So there's so many chapters of my life that they can dive into depending on their age, and they get into it in different ways. So I think my son now, who's turning 9 next week, he's getting into that age. He really loves reading, and he now understands that I've been documenting, writing about fatherhood since before he was born, when he was still in tummy. And so he's discovering the blog posts.
Oh, yeah.
Not to the extent that he'll like go in and really read them, but he's finding these nuggets in between that he really enjoys. He loves the videos, the Fatherologist videos.
Of course, because there he shows up and he's this little thing. It's so sweet, honestly. So I'm sure for him it's really nice to witness himself in that way.
I think it's a cool reminder as well, as you grow as a child, to when you're 3 years old, to see yourself as a baby.
Yeah.
And when you're 8 years old, to see yourself how you were when you were 4. It puts you in an interesting position where you can see your own development and see how much you've changed, because for yourself, you're just who you are. But to see the linguistic challenges or even coordination challenges.
Yes, they show up.
They show up. Yeah, so that's really cool from several point of view. So for their own development, it's really cool to see. They can see how long they've come. And I think it's cool for that reason to have these measurements on the wall. As
the growth charts.
Exactly. Yeah. Just yesterday, I was comparing Allegra, her height now, versus Ian when he was her age. And she is taller than he is. He got a bit nervous about that. I was telling him it's the eggs. She loves the eggs.
She loves the eggs. So in this role as primary caretaker, stay-at-home dad, or, resident dad, as I'm calling you, from the beginning, have you ever felt judged by friends, family, strangers, parents at the school, whatever it may be?
Not judged in a negative sense. There's been a lot of curiosity, a lot of questions, a lot of why, but why would you do this?
Oh, really? From the mothers or fathers? Or
everyone, I think, because everyone's surprised. Like, why would you? Because a lot of times when you're a stay-at-home dad, it's a conscious decision made more with financial reasons. Like, the wife makes more money, so it makes more sense that she would continue working and the dad would stay home. But in our case, I was insisting on it. It wasn't even a question of who should. I was like, no. We're having a baby and I'm staying home. And that I was certain of. But I don't think I can't recall a single negative interaction, even for the simple things like when it's time to change the baby's diapers, and when I have to go into the ladies' bathroom because there are no changing tables.
Yeah, the changing table is usually in the women's room. Yeah.
Yeah. It was always met with smiles and giggles, and maybe at its worst, a look of fascination, of almost disbelief.
Right. Because they rarely see it.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, that's nice, though, that there was never judgment, because I'm asking, so there was no need to feel emasculated or anything like that.
I think just the fact that it is just the word that you use, emasculating, it's very specific, and it does hit you in a way, because even if it is giggles and look of surprise on their face, maybe emasculating is not the right word, but you feel like the odd man out. But I've always been the odd man out. Just look at my career.
So you're comfortable with that.
But I'm perfectly fine with that. But it does maybe poke you a bit in the side every once in a while. But it's not something that I focus on or pay attention to, at least not at length. It might hit me briefly, but I'm in love with what I do, and this is what I want to be doing. So I'm just happy about it.
Great. Did you ever try to find a group? You know, there's all these mom groups and things like that. Did you ever look for stay-at-home dad, a support group, or a daddy and me music class?
It was more before my son was born. I was looking for information. I wanted to see how other dads were doing it and what their thoughts were. And there was very little out there, not a lot to go on. And the few instances that I found, it was a lot of this self-congratulatory, super dad, t-shirt wearing type of attitude, and it didn't click with me I didn't like that ego aspect, because it seemed to have very little to do with the children or being a parent. It seemed to be an attribute, like you would get a fancy car. People look at you and go, oh, no, like you would get a puppy.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Women look at you and go, oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that vibe. It didn't feel very... Well, maybe it was inclusive, but it didn't sit well with me, the vibe that they were representing. So I just removed myself from that. I was a part of a Facebook group, but it was these ridiculous stories that you would find, like these self-deprecating men they were complaining about their wives in a way that an abused housewife would complain about her husband.
Okay.
It just made me really uncomfortable, because that wasn't my situation.
This was in earnest? This was in earnest, or were they playing?
No, they seemed very honest about it, because they were commiserating hard. They were commiserating, really getting into it and supporting each other, and in a very similar way as women would do in a similar situation or after a breakup.
I see.
Like, he's nothing. Yeah, you don't need him anyway. And there was these ridiculous examples where the dad or the husband would paint this picture of dinner time and how he would have prepared dinner, but he wasn't allowed to sit down with the family because the family of the wife were occupying the table. I don't know. There were these weird stories that I just... Very dark, and it was definitely not what I was expecting from fatherhood. So I thought that would be a very negative space to put my head in.
I think you were right.
Because I don't believe that's what I was going to experience, and sure enough, it wasn't. So once Ian was born, again, odd man out. I was the only dad in the park, and a bunch of housewives.
That was going to be my question. Yeah, these kind of daily interactions that we have when we have young children.
Yeah.
Typically moms.
They would look from afar, but it was never inclusive in the same way. Like, when two moms meet and they have their strollers, it's like instant chemistry, kind of. They have that in common because they were pregnant and they're probably breastfeeding and they're recovering from giving birth and all that. So they already have all these things. Meanwhile, I don't have sore nipples. I don't know what to say. I don't have these issues. So there wasn't a lot to bond or commiserate over. So it was just very superficial and just some random questions and answers. But their kids were always into playing with me and they thought it was a lot of fun. I think that was the biggest impression I think that I left with them, that all their kids, like I'm the only active parents, because these women, they would sit on the benches and they just sit there and chit chat, right? And I would be climbing, jumping, running with my kid.
Yeah.
But the other kids would see it and they're like, he seems fun.
Yeah.
So they would be all over me, literally climbing all over me.
Resident dad.
Absolutely. I should be charging for that.
But kids gravitate and it's so magical how quickly they choose to play with one another.
Right,
and they're part of your group all of a sudden.
Exactly. Yeah. Because they see my kid and he's having a blast. He's flying all over the place. And I think the biggest impression that I left with these moms were the vibe that they took home to their husbands. Because then I would I would talk to them like the day after or the next week and they'd say, oh, by the way, I was talking to my husband about you and they thought it was really cool that you're doing this thing as a dad. And that feedback was very welcome, because that meant at least that they were seeing it as something positive and they were bringing that energy home.
Yeah.
And I hope that maybe it could have been contagious once the dads eventually went to the park and saw. Not everyone's gonna be the type of monkey that I am. That's my character, a very extrovert in that sense. but just to be active with the kids and not just to sitting on a bench while the kids play. That seems, I mean, I get it. It's exhausting sometimes, especially when you have several kids, but you have to get into it.
Speaking of, you're reminding me, I'm saying being active with your kids. So since before Ian was born, you were keeping a blog, things you were researching or thinking about and preparing. And you also have this YouTube presence of videos with when your children are young. And I believe it's with Ian that you have this toddler size.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it the toddler size series. Can you tell me about that?
Well, that was just a fun thing I was doing because I wanted to get my exercise in, but he needed to be entertained because he was still, I don't know, 6 months, something like that. And so I would put him in a swing, for example, and I would start doing squats with him in the swing. I would hold the swing and I would start doing squats. I would push him and I'd do push-ups or sit-ups, and every time I sat up, I would push him on the swing and he would be laughing his butt off. So it's entertaining for him. It's a good workout for me.
Yeah, you got to get it in when you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of these videos made it through to Maltese media, and they made a whole thing out of it. But it sounded more like I invented a new form of exercise, which it wasn't. I was just having fun with it. I like to make these videos, right? And I was doing the exercise, so I recorded the video and put some fun music with it and edit it together. But that was our daily life. Every morning I would be jogging on the beach with Ian in the stroller, the speaker inside the stroller, and he would be...
That he held on to, I think.
Yeah.
It's very sweet.
Yeah. But now we have the blue stroller, the twin. And even still, now it's been a while now since I was out running with them. But I was out with them several times. Last year, when Ian was then 7 and 3, both of them still fit in it perfectly. The only difference, the speaker was bigger now. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks like fun. And I think parents are incredibly innovative in general because we have to be, we have to come up with all sorts of ways to either entertain our kids or to make sure we get time for ourselves, in this case for our health, whatever it may be. So I love to see that. I enjoyed those videos. Because you say you're the monkey, right? Which helps. Being a fun dad, which helps. But when you're primary caretaker, you can't be fun all the time.
No.
So what kind of qualities outside of that do you think have been essential to being in your role?
I'm very strict. I look like I'm all fun and play, but no, I'm very strict, very disciplined. There's a lot of cause and effect. Like, if you do this, this is going to happen. You choose, if you wake up in the morning and you're going to have a bad attitude, then guess what? You're going to have a bad day.
It's a heaven or hell of your own making.
It is. Exactly. And that's the philosophy I have in this. You make these choices. We're in the car. All right, you're going to throw a tantrum. What's going on? Are you hungry? Thirsty? Are you sad? Are you tired? What's going on? Let's address that first. Once that is done, we've established what is wrong. You're hungry? Cool. Let's go get something to eat. Are you thirsty? Here's some water. Is there something else going on? Let's talk about it. If not, are you just crying for attention? Guess what? Self-control. Nip it in the bud. And you have to teach that from an early age, that because I was teaching Ian from when he was a year, I think, because he had a lot of separation anxiety. He was very attached, very close to my wife. Obviously, with the breastfeeding and all that, they have a different connection. So he would throw these, not tantrums, but he would just start to hyperventilate and cry really hard to the point where he would start to vomit. And so I've been meditating since I was a kid, just myself. And so I decided to teach him some basic breathing techniques just to calm down. Nothing crazy, none of these TikTok, internet, Instagram stuff that you see today of like quick breathing, fire breathing, I don't know what they're, clench your anus. Do these weird things.
For a kid, right.
Exactly. No, just calm your breathing.
Yeah.
Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. These things. And I made a video, and it's still to this day, I'm getting these comments. Mind you, this was 8 years ago. I'm still getting comments from parents who are either, oh, this was so helpful to me, and it's so cool that you're doing it this way, and other people who clearly they haven't had enough sleep, where they're just shitting all over me, and they're like, well, just because your kid is so well behaved, mine's not. Mine is Satan.
I think they're in the thick of it.
Yeah, so I tend not to respond to those comments or any comments personal. At all. No, I get that, but I mean, as a grown-up, you can benefit immensely from just doing that. It's not complicated. It's not voodoo. It's not hippie bull. It's, I'm not expecting to start rubbing crystals. I'm just saying pause, breathe, allow yourself a moment just to realign yourself, to center yourself. And this is crucial. And when you start doing that, and it becomes a criteria, a prerequisite.
There we go.
Right?
Okay.
A prerequisite. Like, I'll stop the car right now. I'm not moving. I'm parked here. Get it out of your system. Take control. Take a deep breath. And I'm trying to do it as much as I can calmly. I lose my calm every once in a while as well. I think everyone has to allow themselves that luxury, otherwise we go crazy. But in the mirror, eye contact, or I turn around and I just try to bring them back into the moment, holding their hand, rubbing their leg, something just to bring them out of that almost psychotic state of hyperventilating because they lose control.
It's dysregulation. Right? They're dysregulated in that moment.
And so just bringing them back in, and they know we're not going anywhere. This is all about you. So I'm giving you my attention completely, but it comes at a price. I'm expecting something from you. It's not like we're going to sit here and we're just going to... No. I'm stopping here. Now it's your turn. I'm focused on you. Now you bring me what I need, what we need to get to the point where we need to be. I think that's a very helpful coping mechanism.
I think it is. And it's not just helpful for the kids, like you said. Most adults benefit from that, and especially parents, because what we end up being is we react to our kids a lot. And in that moment of pause is where we can find a different reaction. Because they feed off of us too sometimes, right? Depending on what's happening. But that pause and that breath is something very important to learn. And I, as a parent, I love reading parenting books. It's the truth. It's who I am. I read anything I can get my hands on in that sense. Of course, I'm picky in kind of a particular path of parenting, but I will say what you're describing to me is exactly this idea of connection. Because that kid is dysregulated and their prefrontal cortex is just not... It's not developed yet. They can't access this part of their brain. They're working with the back part of the brain, right? The lizard brain that we call it. And they cannot access that willpower, that reasoning. They cannot get there. So in order to connect with them, you have to get on their level, which is what you're doing. And you're making eye contact and there's touch and there's all of these things are working together. And that's when you help them regulate and you're co-regulating together. So you're hearing me go down my... parenting path of these books that I love to read, but I understand, and maybe it just comes naturally to you, but that's what we need.
It does. I definitely do want to mention that I haven't read a single book. Nothing. I will Google something like health, safety related, because it's just pure science and it's a matter of life and death. But I think it's important to mention that books can be fantastic. If you feel clueless, sorry, I'm insulting you. If you
No.
No, I'm not saying if you feel clueless. If you feel that this is guiding you in the direction that you want to be going, and it helps you, by any means necessary. Like you want to go where you need to go, you do that to get there. What I'm saying is, I think it's important to remove the stigma of instinct.
Oh.
Because with the blessing and curse of the internet, we have these idiots recommending like the most ridiculous, crazy things. So everyone has an equal platform. The most educated scientist has an equal platform as the anti-vaxxer, whatever they are.
Well, you have to have a critical thinking ability in these scenarios, I would say, which hopefully we're teaching our children.
But my point is, I think it's important to mention that if it's not your thing, please don't feel guilty for not reading all these books. If it interests you, if you feel that it benefits you and it's leading you in the direction that you want to be taking it, or if you just want to hack the circumstances and you want to optimize the system, so to speak, then it's fantastic. But I think it's really important to just at least to put it out there, to mention that there's so many ways to go about it. There's so many things you can call it. You can call it prayer, you can call it meditation, you can call all these different aspects of things. And it's so fascinating when you mention these things about the prefrontal
cortex,
cortex and the lizard brain. Because to me, I'm like, okay, I had no idea. I get it.
Right.
It makes sense what you're saying. And it's really interesting to hear about. But there are many ways to arrive at that destination without the stigma of having to have an entire library of books to read. Just putting that out there for the people who aren't necessarily into it.
Absolutely. And because we all arrive at these things differently.
Right.
And in different personalities. It is just my personality to seek out the information that I can and be discerning in that information. But I have plenty of friends who, wouldn't go near any of the books that I do. And we arrive, hopefully, typically, to the same place.
Right.
Which is great. So speaking of these times when your children were very young, what are your memories from when you first brought Ian home?
I remember thinking that this should be illegal. I
Like
remember,
walking out of the hospital with him?
Yes,
I know
yes.
that feeling.
You're just walking. It's a person. It's a person. You're walking away because you have to study. You have to pass an exam to drive a car. For any type of work, you need training. You need certificates, degrees, diplomas. Yet raising a human being who, in theory, could destroy the world or bless it.
Right.
And you're just walking out of the hospital. And that was such a weird feeling of just holding this person in this little basket of mine in the car seat, just walking out. And I'm I feel like I was shoplifting.
Right.
I was waiting for someone to say, wait, you're supposed to have this. This nurse, she's coming to live with you for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That was the first initial thing. Then once that passed, I was overwhelmed with the calm. The exploration of just studying that little face, the fingers, the toes.
Yeah.
There was so much nibbling going on.
Yeah.
It was a state of just pure bliss. With Allegra, it was a nightmare. It was awful because she rejected me. And this is something nobody tells you about. Nobody tells you, but it can happen. For the first 3 months of her life, she completely rejected me. If she heard my voice, if she saw me, she would just start screaming. So I literally stayed away for 3 months.
Oh.
So you'll see that coincides with the stopping of my online content, most of it, because I had nothing to say. What am I going to say? I was embarrassed.
Right.
I had been raising this son. I mean, mind you, it took a whole year for him to express any kind of attachment, any emotion towards me. He hugged me for the first time on his first birthday.
Even though you were with him.
Oh yeah. Mama's
Constantly.
boy, mama's
Yeah.
boy. Through and through. I was the placeholder.
Yeah.
And I had made peace with that. But oh man, on that day, this was his birthday. I remember, so it was his birthday. We were a bunch of people up on the roof terrace who were having a party. He was having a little siesta, so we would wake up and be, in a good mood for the party. And he was overwhelmed with all these people. And I was carrying him, and he's fine being carried by me. But he came out, he saw the people, he turned around and just put his arms around me. And he hugged me. Oh, I'm almost going to cry. At that moment, I was crying. Just tears running. Because it was 1 year, 365 days of waking up so many times, changing so many diapers, being pooped, peed on, vomited on, and everything.
Yeah.
The most abusive of relationships. And in that moment, retribution.
Yeah.
It was finally reciprocated. It was first then that I realized how much pressure I was under, because I was so busy trying to be the best dad and being the best everything for him, to give him the best circumstances possible, that I had completely forgotten about how much I had been neglecting myself. It hit me really hard, but I have this relationship with pain which is slightly different from most people, in that I tend to examine it and really savor it, because I find beauty and borderline pleasure in that pain, because it comes from such a beautiful place. Because you give yourself entirely to this human being, and you want to say you expect nothing in return, but when you get something,
Oh, yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was magical.
Yeah.
But eventually, Allegra, she got around.
She came around.
She came around,
too.
and and now both of them acknowledge me as a resident dad.
Resident dad.
Yeah.
So what we haven't talked about here so far, because children's relationships, especially very young children's attachment to either parent, can be fascinating in this way of, like, you were rejected, but then you're actually the primary caretaker, but then you're connected. But what about the relationship between the parents? Because I don't think we talk about that very much. It's just the steps of life that you take. You fall in love, you get married, you have kids. But you had a relationship before you had children. There was a you and Anna before there was Ian and Allegra. And so how did the transition from coupledom to parenthood go for you guys?
Easy breezy.
Oh, okay, great. Moving on.
No,
I knew it. Yeah.
No, in our case, we're those parents. Every once in a while, Anna's parents would come to babysit. And the idea would be for us to go have dinner or go dancing salsa as we used to do when we were dating, right? But the only thing we were thinking about is, oh, Ian would have loved this. Oh, he would have loved that. He loved sushi restaurants. To eat the green salad, I don't know what it's called, the slimy thing.
Oh, yeah.
That was his favorite thing. And eating ginger.
Wakame? Yeah.
He would eat ginger like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And we always found ourselves just missing him because felt almost like limping when he wasn't there.
Something's missing.
Something's definitely missing. Like he needs, not that we need him here. He should be here. Because we took him everywhere. When we go to restaurants, all the staff everywhere, they knew who he was, who we were, what he liked, and they would always bring him extra food. And we would take him to salsa places. I mean, when there were a lot of outdoors clubs in Malta, and we would take him with us in the stroller. And he'd be, boogieing out to the music, or he would be on my shoulders while I was dancing with Anna, or in my arms while I was dancing with Anna. That's just how we are as people. We were friends for a year. She was my best friend. I fell in love with my best friend. So we were that couple who went from friendship into being a couple. So apart from not owning our bed anymore, apart from that, very, very little changed. And our focus has always been on each other, taking care of each other. So it was just fun. Now we were 3.
That's great. I think it's not a struggle, but it's incredible. You step away from these little humans that need you so much, and you're desperate for air. And then all of a sudden you're sitting there just going, oh my God, look. Oh, look how cute. Remember, you can't stop. I mean, even with my husband, it's all we talk about when we're away from the kids is the kids. I mean, and we sit there and look at the pictures of them together. But maybe that's the beauty of it. Maybe that's where we need to be. Maybe that's how our
I'll say this, just not to shit on the people who are on the other side of that spectrum, that we feel at our best when we are together. All of us. Always. I am nothing. I am useless without these people. When they go to Granada, I am an amoeba. I'm just floating around. No purpose, nothing. It sounds a bit ridiculous, but that's how it feels. But then again, on the other side of that spectrum are the people who find enjoyment in that intimacy. And you obviously can't have sexual intimacy with a kid in between you. So for the people, you need to do whatever you need to do to center yourself, right? To make sure that you're replenishing your own energy, not to get too much into the intimate part of things. But if your existence is heavily driven on sexual energy, then yes, of course, you need to take that kid, put him somewhere else with someone else and go bonkers. Go do your thing. If that's what replenishes you, go for it. For us, it was that harmonious feeling of us being together. That's what replenished us. When she's at work, we're limping. When
something's missing.
Yeah, something's missing. So when we're together, when we wanted to replenish, we would go out. Sushi restaurants, the bomb. And that and salsa and these social dance events and things. The beach, sunset.
Sharing that with your children.
Come on. I mean, that is... Yeah, it's on video. It's on YouTube.
Okay. Find it there. So with all that, what is your fathering philosophy?
Oh, you mean in sense of discipline?
How do you see yourself as a father? What's your
role? As a father? Brikha. Righteousness is high, but it's not virtue. It's not like in a religious or like a more... It's because good makes good. Good makes sense. Good makes you feel good. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to sound like a caveman. Man, fire. You good, I good, we good. In the simplest of terms, that's what it is. To be kind, to be gentle, but be firm. These are obviously contrasting things, but
they have to coexist.
We have these polarities, and we have to stretch us out. I gave you, for the listeners, we've had a lot of conversations that were not recorded.
Yes.
One of them was about this rubber band, and the more you stretch these ideas and notions and disciplines, creating a vast spectrum, the more balanced you end up being when you're centered within that. So contradictions are beneficial. You cannot just be all good all the time, because then you're a schmuck. The kids are going to walk all over you. They're not going to respect you if you're just saying yes to everything.
You have to define good in a different way there. You're talking about a moral compass.
Yeah. I'm talking of the benefit of understanding the benefit of total freedom and being tied up. understanding that I'm here, no expectations, no conditions, nothing. I'm here, but also this has to be done at some point. This needs to happen, but also I'm here and nothing else matters. At the end of the day, I love you forever. Nothing's going to change that. But now we're going to have a fight.
Correct.
I'll fight you right now.
Correct. Right.
And I've had those conversations many times with Ian, because sometimes we need to have these not hard conversations, but the conversations where I need to set very strict boundaries especially when he's been in Granada with his grandparents for too long, because they let him do whatever he wants. So I have to realign him when he gets back home, so he understands that
rules are different.
These are your grandparents. They've earned the right to spoil you.
Agreed. Yeah.
I'm the one who's taking you into society. I'm bringing you into this life. And it would be completely irresponsible if all I do was feed you physical and mental candy.
Yeah.
If everything you're doing is perfect and nothing is wrong and you're completely flawless, no, that's not going to happen. I love you. Nothing will ever change that. But I do have expectations.
Well, and I think you kind of broke down the values that you're instilling into your children.
Yes. Yeah. Good for the sake of good. Because it makes sense. Mathematically, it makes sense.
What's come surprisingly easy to you as a father? I mean, you've already made it clear that everything's come easy to you as a father.
Most of it.
But perhaps what's been the challenging part?
The challenging part, patience sometimes. Patience. Oh, when you're sleep deprived, you're not even human. I mean, you're an animal at that point. So I think patience has been the most difficult. Not patience in general. I'm speaking about being patient in the most challenging situations where you are not able to be patient, to stay cool when you really cannot and everything is triggering you and you just want to scream, which I've done. I've smashed the steering wheel. Steering wheel? Is that what it's called? The car? Steering wheel. It has received many slaps over the years, but sometimes you lose it. You absolutely lose it, and that has happened in front of the kids. I'm not perfect, goodness.
It wouldn't do them any good to think of you as perfect.
No, absolutely. Most of this comes very easy to me, but even for me, sometimes when I'm having one of these days and they're being completely to leave the house, and they are just not complying, and there's not really an issue either. They're just being absent-minded. They're just being kids. But you're trying to get them to school, and maybe you have obligations, and thankfully right now I don't have anything to do, but really soon we're going to start construction on the new house. Then there's no messing around. I have tight schedules to keep.
And in those moments, what do you find yourself doing to try to...
Slap the steering wheel.
Slap the steering wheel, yeah. Better, it's the steering wheel.
No, breathe, man.
Breathe. That's what I was...
Breathe.
That's what I was talking about, that pause.
Actually, don't. Hold your breath for a very, very, very long time and then exhale as much as you possibly can. Then scream. Exhale and try to scream as loud as you can. You will sound like a little fart and it feels amazing. And then you take that big breath again and it's like you deplete yourself of everything, of all your power, of the very air that drives you is out. You have nothing left. Again, these contrasts, they're delicious. And when you inhale, you feel better.
You feel better. And then you can approach the situation.
Usually, I pause because usually, yes, sometimes I need to stew in it. I need to. And when I need to, I do always make sure to explain that to the kids. Like right now, I'm not ready to have this conversation. Because if I do, I'm going to say something I'll regret. Don't want to do that. So right now, let's just listen to this drum and bass and be very happy about that. But no, I told you this before. One of my key rules is never go to bed angry. Never, ever, whatever happens, never go to bed angry. Sometimes it's just not possible to compose yourself quickly enough. You just need to stew in it for a while. And no amount of meditation is going to bring you back to that clarity of mind that you want to be in. Because then you're just forcing yourself. It has to be authentic because kids see that. They understand very easily. Micro expressions in your face, the tone of your voice. They get that. So I try to be honest even with my weaknesses. So they understand that I lost my shit, bro. I can't do anything about it. Right now I can't. And if I say something, I'm going to say something I'm going to regret. So right now, I'm just going to be quiet.
But there's an honesty there and a respect for them that they can understand that. Even if they can't fully, that they'll go, oh, okay, Dad needs a minute.
Yeah.
Or whatever it may be. And instead of exploding to them rather than the steering wheel, you're going, hey, I I can't right now. And they learn from that. I think beyond all, I think kids also need to be treated with that kind of respect. And I think that's what I'm hearing here from you.
Yes. No, I definitely agree with that. I think it's important as well that they see our weaknesses, that we don't try to put on this brave face that I only saw my father cry once. Once. That's weird. That's because, I mean, we're talking about a immigrant refugee who's been fleeing from country to country. He's lived a difficult life, right? He had a lot of reasons to cry. I only saw it once. And I think it's important to show that we have weaknesses, we have flaws, we're not perfect. And I think that, again, going back to the contrasts, when they see that you are this almighty, powerful, you know everything, can do everything, from their perspective, that's what it looks like. Because how is it possible that this guy knows about planets and the solar system and about food and about emotions and about toys, and at the same time I break down like a child? I think it's healthy for them to see that without the implication of, oh, I did that. You know?
Right.
I need them to see that they're part of it, that they maybe even the cause of it, but it's not it's not their fault. It's the circumstances, everything just accumulating into the shitstorm that just occurred. But even if it did, you can recover from it. You can break down. It's okay to break down, but they also need to see you get back on that horse. And that, when it comes full circle, you're good.
Again, it's those both extremes.
Always the rubber band. I mention it in so many of my songs.
Yeah, okay. Speaking of your songs, I do plan to outro with your stay-at-home dad song. I hope that's okay with you.
No, go with the one called I Cry Blood.
Okay. I think we're going to stick to stay-at-home dad for this one. But everything you were just saying, and let's see where we go with this. The response, the reactions, the sometimes not having the patience required at that moment. Have you found that you kind of have to reparent yourself? That while we parent our children, we face our own insecurities, we face our own limitations. Do you have any examples of that?
Yes. That would be one of my biggest positive surprises that I've experienced as a parent. Again, this is something that I've never heard. But then again, I don't read, so I've never heard anyone talk about this. But that opportunity that is given to you when you are raising a child and you are seeing your own emotions and experiences that you yourself had as a child, you get an opportunity to re-examine those scenarios, situations, emotions, confrontations, whatever they may be. And you get a chance not just to forgive, not necessarily the people in it, but the circumstances within it. And forgive yourself. Forgive is maybe the wrong word, but allowing yourself the chance to heal from it, whatever the trauma was. And it's not necessarily a conflict. Anything can be traumatic. Any big experience that drives big emotions can be traumatic for you because it shifts your personality. It shifts your perspective. And to have that opportunity, it's like time travel almost. It's such a profound experience. You come out on the other side as a better person. Maybe not as a better person, as a more complete person.
As a more complete person. In that way, I think, because I understand this, I've certainly felt this as a parent. In that way, it's that our children are the ones teaching us. Surprisingly, as we're raising them and we're teaching them their way in this world, they're teaching us how to be in this world.
Absolutely.
In a better way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. They give you an opportunity to see clarity in moments where you tend to complicate things too much. Maybe not for me, more for my wife. Yeah. Because she lives this. I don't live an adult life, right? I'm living in this kid's world where I do what I want, when I want, how I want. But I can definitely see from her perspective in particular when it comes to these notions and ideas of what life is, what life's about, and what the purpose is. When you're in those moments of intimacy, of clarity with your children, I don't know, something beautiful happens within you that just brings a different dimension to your own existence, I think.
And with advice from you for new dads.
Listen. And when I say listen, I mean listen to yourself. A lot of the answers that we look for externally are a lot of times within. So I think for anyone who's about to be a dad, the best way you can spend your time, I don't want to say meditate, but contemplate, think about where you are, what you are, how you are, why you are. Most importantly, why you are what you are. And when you identify those things, it gets a lot easier to decipher and understand other people, and especially those tiny little people who don't even know what arms are, that are just flailing everywhere and they're trying to figure out their universe. You position yourself strategically as a larger canvas for your child to explore and for yourself to ultimately create this painting, this idea of what life and what parenting should be. I think whatever you want to bring out from your child probably sits within you somewhere, and to evaluate that, understanding it, bringing that forward is the first step. Everything that comes after that is just love. Everything is based on love, unconditional. And I say unconditional, with the air quotes, because things, at the end of the day, things need to happen. You cannot just sit and wait and be stuck in your ways. You have to be malleable, you have to be flexible, you have to allow your mind to wander to places that can be uncomfortable. It's such a huge internal self-exploration. And it sounds weird because we're talking about what you're doing for another human being, but what you're doing is what you have been doing. What you're doing to that child, what you are going to do to that child is what you've been doing to yourself in many ways. You're just repeating the pattern, the voices in your head, the attitude you have towards yourself. That's what you're imprinting in your child. So be very careful with that. Be careful with the language that you have in your internal dialogue. And from there, that's where it just branches out and where you have to identify where the critical points are. But to identify these things of the pillars, or the foundation rather, that you want to build everything else on, and just make sure that it's a solid foundation, because we all have different ideas about what kind of house we want to live in, but foundation is off. It's going to be difficult to correct that.
Doesn't matter what you build on it, right?
Exactly. So it turns into a kind of a hippie answer, but it's true. Look inwards. Oh, goodness. Yoda. My Yoda just came out.
Perfect.
Inwards you should look.
Perfect. That's exactly how it should have been. Thank you, Emil Brikha, for your time.
My pleasure.
Dad rap. Yo, stuck in agreements with the creature made of my semen, shining like a heathen from the top of a hill like He-Man. Caught into a role, society calls me a she-man, but see man, this ain't the 1900s and I'm not leaning. Feeding myself as I'm pleading with my chapter, trying to convince my son I'm a crazy velociraptor. I rap on any track, I used to DJ with Tractor. Now I rap diapers talking to Pokemon that I capture. Trying to rap with cartoons playing in the background. Mother Goose, Clubby, Storybots, and I look like a sad clown. But with this kid it's impossible to hold a sad frown. I'm like putty in his hands and I surrender with my hands down. These bars are medication, but they're psychosomatic. I realize I'm babbling like I'm some kind of a psycho addict. It's not like I'm some kind of a weirdo with psycho habits, but sleep deprivation can make you see all kinds of rabbits. I keep misplacing things even though I just had it. I put my keys in the highest place out of all habit. If not, I'll never see them because I know that he'll grab it. My kid's a savage, even more klepto than average. I'm getting dizzy, spinning into a spiral trap. Getting woken up at 5 a.m. is just as fun as a spinal tap. I practice righteousness, but without the Bible crap. I crap on consciousness right after my title track. I make up for lack of sleep with tiny naps when I blink. I look like a creep, can carry sentences or think. Can't remember last time I showered and now I stink. But family life is sweet, I just need a drink and a shrink. I used to battle rappers, now I babble nonsense. I battle daycare sickness, immune defense on the offense. Don't get close to me, I get paranoid if you're coughing. Shoulders so tense, I should get massages more often. But wife is working, while I'm at home twerking, shaking ass with reggaeton with a toddler and a gherkin. Pasta on the menu, a burger is a certain, and ice cream and bourbon while I'm hiding behind the curtains. My head hurts, cause my kid went all berserk. The wound on my forehead, it's his work, it's his world. Foolishly, I expected a meal without an accident. Now the table looks like underwear after a laxative. I like a clean house, but I value sanity. Things are scattered everywhere like fluctuating gravity. I got my in-laws in 4 hands, but this is savagery. I don't need a hand, I need a whole goddamn cavalry. I love to go a day without any shit or snot. Parenting is fun even though I know I bitch a lot. I'm mostly amazing, but my eyelids twitch a lot. I try to clean in sections, I just need to pick a spot. Cause I'm a stay-at-home dad, I'll play alone dad. I'm trying to be as good as the one I wish I had. I don't mean to complain, and I know it sounds insane. Some things I lose my brain, but I choose it's all the same. I'm a stay-at-home dad, I play alone dad. I'm clean to the man, the goose that wears the hat. I don't mean to complain, and I know it sounds insane. Some days I lose my brain, but I choose it's all the same.
Dad rap, dad life.
That's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening, and make sure you tune back in for our next episode of the Assyrian podcast.